break. This is a helpful beading tip from Turquoise String Beads in Fall River, Massachusetts. It is for an intermediate level beader and it relates to wire working. Today we're going to be learning the third segment of my Freeform earrings and necklace set, and we're going to be doing the rectangle. And the first two segments were our pearl earrings and our little turquoise with my signature. And so today we're going to focus on the rectangle, and all the supplies we need are a foot of 22 gauge sterling silver half hard round wire. We have 3 head pins, an ear wire. We have 2 little micro crimps here, some crystals, and our stones. And the tools we will be using are our basic wire working tools. We have our round nose pliers, our chain nose pliers, and our cutters. And it starts out with a basic wrapped loop. So we're going to start doing a wrapped loop from the top. And you want to make your 90-degree angle with your chain nose pliers. And then you want to bring your round nose pliers in, make that loop, close it up, and trim that little tail off. Now we're going to add on our focal bead. Put that right on the wire. Then we're going to make another wrapped loop, but this time we are not trimming off that tail. We need it to stay long. So you bring your wire to this point, and you keep that long tail on there. So now we're going to be using our chain nose pliers to make our bends. Now for the bends we have to be careful and just be aware of the direction that our pliers are going in. So for the first one, you want to have a certain amount of spacing between the bead and the wire, as you can see right here. So that all comes with the pliers. I'm going to place my pliers up against the bead, and I'm using the width of the plier to determine the spacing that I'm going to have in between the bead and the wire. And then I'm just bringing it straight down to do a 90-degree angle. So it's going to look like this. Now, I want to check to make sure that it's the same spacing. And it looks pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and make another angle at the bottom, placing my pliers so the end of the pliers line up with the end of the bead. Just like that. You want this part of the plier to match up with the bottom of the bead, because this will entail that 90-degree angle to sit nicely at the bottom. There won't be any type of angle with it falling in a different spot. So now we're just going to wrap this around once, and we want to keep that in place. Again, we're taking our chain nose pliers, and we want to mimic the same spacing in between. So I'm going to go ahead, place my pliers right up against that stone, and making sure that the measurement is about the same as the other side. I'm going to go ahead and bend this down. And at this point, this is where we want to add in our embellishments. So I am going to take one of the micro crimps, add it onto my wire. Then I take 1 4mm bicone crystal, 1 daisy spacer, and another 4mm bicone crystal, and your last micro crimp. Making sure you're going to get it in the same spot as your other one. So I put this one kind of in the middle. I want to make sure my spacing is the same. And once I get the placement that I like, I want to take my chain nose pliers, and I'm just going to squeeze the crystals in place by squeezing down on the micro crimps. So now that my crystals are on the wire, I'm going to go ahead and make my last angle so I can anchor the wire down. In this one, remember, we need to line up this end of the plier with the bottom of the bead, making sure that that looks good. We want to bend our wire And now I'm holding this corner with my bead at the same time, and I'm making sure that I'm wrapping nice and easily. I don't really want to pull that wire so it doesn't ruin the configuration of the angle. I really just want to keep it so it stays straight. So you really need to hold the wire and the bead pretty tightly, and don't pull with this hand away from your bead. You really just want to grab the wire and push it nice and easily around. And once you have it anchored, you can go ahead and trim off your tail. Always save your scraps. And then I'm just tucking in that little neck. I don't want that to get caught on anything. Making sure that it's nice and steady. I'm going to take my head pins with the remaining 4mm bicones, add them onto the head pins, and then I'm going to go ahead and make my wrapped loops on all of them. Then we're going to go ahead and attach all of these crystals to the bottom of the earring. And also at this point you want to make sure that your loops are going in the same direction. So I'm just going to go ahead and fix this one. You just take the chain nose pliers if it's not facing in the same direction, and you want to just grab onto the loop and twist the bead so the wire is facing in the direction that you need. So now we're going to, making sure that I do the mirror image, I'm going to check, and I'm going to add my crystals onto the bottom. Tucking in all those little tails. You don't want anything getting caught on anyone's hair. After all these three are attached, we want to take our ear wire and then add this on to our ear wire and then close it up. And then we have our beautiful pair of earrings, and the same technique goes for just a single pendant. So whichever your heart desires, go ahead and make it. That is it for now. We hope this was a helpful tip for you. We'll have lots more helpful hints, so stay tuned. In the meantime, happy beading from Turquoise String Beads in Fall River, Massachusetts.